Okay, so I'm gonna spend this video kind of going over the entire left side. So we'll just, if you have not already watched the mock race video, make sure you spend some time, especially if you are on the left side, to watch. Um, I mean, I don't think I could pick any point throughout the race where it was consistently like one person off or another person off, or sorry, I couldn't pick like entire race that it was consistently just one person. But throughout the race, it was like batches of like two or three or one person off, throwing off a lot of people behind them, and it was in general not quite as clean as we want it to be, right? So So yes, please make sure you take some time because I know right now I'm just going to go through one section of the race. Um, Obviously, towards the back end of the race, things got a little bit worse than the first half. So I'm gonna try to highlight some of the stuff for you guys here. Go kind of bench by bench. So Willie, I know I had already talked to you last Sunday about this, but you're pretty well in sync with Viv. It's just that last part, like I was talking to you about at practice last Sunday, the final toast. Okay, so when you get to the front here, you can see Viv's getting ready to catch in, and you're still just waiting just a little bit before you catch, and so her blade is about half or a third buried, and you're just now entering in, right? So that little slight fine difference. I know we already talked about this with you as well, but your top hand is really high. So we already talked about trying to adjust where your lower hand here is placed on that paddle to help bring your lower or your top hand down just a little bit, because sometimes it's I've noticed more recently that it's a little bit hard to place you in any position because that top hand looks drastically different than certain people around you. I think this worked out fine because Maureen also slightly has that like high top hand. But that's something that I think both of you guys can work on slightly is lower hand grip position. So Maureen, I think I also mentioned this to you last Sunday. I think towards the back half of this race, you tended to enter just a little bit early. And I think because Willie is entering slightly late and you're entering slightly early, that makes the discrepancy here between both of you very drastic. So here you're just slightly ahead of Viv, halfway in, and Viv is a third in. Okay, Fred, obviously here you're even earlier than Maureen, right? So even when we're getting into that last portion of the race, we got to keep it under control. Make sure we're not getting too gung-ho and rushing our catches. You're still going to get a higher quality pull if you take your time on that toast, get set a little bit better. So even behind you, Kelly, I think, is following decently well with Fred here in this particular stroke that I'm looking at. There were other times earlier. I'm just going to go back right now just because I do want to get some highlights of some videos of Kelly here. So this is closer to the beginning portion of the race. I apologize because we are zoomed out a bit with the drone, so I'm kind of digitally zooming, so it's a little bit off. In this particular portion of the race, the first four people in front here are a little bit more in time, and Kelly here, you're kind of exiting a little bit early. Okay, so let me draw some lines. So in the front half here, we're all somewhere around here on that exit, and Kelly, oops, that's a little bit extreme. Let me use a different color. Kelly, your paddle is about here. Okay, so your recovery, you're exiting just a little bit early. You get back to the front here, just a little bit ahead of others, right? And we have Red behind you. Red is following right behind you, so red. Chris is kind of following behind you guys. So the back half here and the beginning of this piece, right, we're all disjointed just a little bit. I think Maureen here is just a little bit ahead as well. So that recovery is just a little bit off as well here in terms of staying right with each other. So Kelly, it definitely seemed like that back half is setting its tone based on where you were at. So you want to really be careful about making sure you still keep pulling. So when you finish your stroke here, I know this is all just blurry blobs, and when I render this, you might not even see it as well. But as you get into the back end of your stroke, keep your lower hand pulling low along the water. So you should really be pulling the entire time low along that water, just a little bit longer. I think maybe you were slightly overcorrecting for some of the things that we had mentioned to you the week prior, where your recovery was a little bit slow from the 2 gate to the 3 gate, but that should not impact how long you're pulling. So you should still pull long. You just need to exit quick, and when you get to that 2 position, you need to get from 2 to 3 quick as well. Okay, so let me go back towards the end of this piece where we're talking about timing of the entire group again. I think we were right around, sorry guys, give me one sec. Okay, so we're coming around here. Okay, so this point of view, okay, yeah, right around here was where we're at. Let me see if I get a view directly from the side. If not, I'm gonna have to go to one of the other videos. Yeah, so we do see occasionally red. Your paddle entry will sometimes be even earlier than, let's say, Kelly in front of you. And again, timing kind of falls in and out for everyone, on and off here and there on the left. I know some of you guys are better at following that person in front of you than others, but there's definitely times when we're not quite getting consistency. So really try to focus on that a little bit more. Let me finish this off by talking about a little bit of technique here for Liz. Okay, so Liz, at this particular angle, right around here. Okay, so I know I talked to you about this actually on Sunday as well, but this helps me kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. So watch as everyone is finishing their stroke and going into the exit. I want you to pay attention to what everyone's lower arm elbow is doing. Okay, look at the lower arm elbow and see how the elbows, as I continue, they open up and out. Okay, and then pay attention to what that elbow is doing. So your hand and wrist, they both come out, but your elbow stays tucked in. So this is something I actually mentioned to Yoli as well. So she kind of does this at the end of your stroke. See how your hand is out, but your elbow's tucked in, right? So bring that elbow up a little, out and up. Okay, you're gonna be able to use the momentum of your arm. If you swing it forward, you're gonna be able to use the momentum of your arm to carry that paddle forward a little bit more quickly. And that's definitely gonna help you in the start speed that I was talking to you about in the video prior to this, okay? Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of necessarily technique things to talk about for most of you, the rest of you as much. One thing I want to point out, just real quick, slightly. So Fred, towards the end of the race here, so I want you to take a look at, let's say, for example, so Willie has a good example. Willie and Viv both in front here. Willie even more so. Willie has a really good example of the kind of twist that I'm looking for in that setup. You can see those shoulders are stacked nice and big. Chest open all the way to the partner. And Fred, so you get to the front of your stroke here. I think as you're getting tired, you get a little bit more lazy. Your top hand could be a little bit more over the gunnel here. Part of this is because right now you're getting me good lean, but your twist, right? If I compare what you have to what Willie has here, right? That shoulder differential, that's going to tell me how much you've twisted up your core, right? So you've got good lean, so lean's there, but the twist is a little bit less, and that's also going to affect where your top hand ends up getting positioned for that good, strong top hand pressure into that stroke. So top hand eventually gets there, but the front of your stroke now is a little bit less powerful than it could be, right? All right, so definitely, I know we talked about some drills to try and clean this up last Sunday. That's kind of what we're going to continue working on this week as well. Again, I encourage you guys, if you haven't already, to make sure you're watching these videos in slow motion. All right?